Hi everyone. We are starting the first episode of Databytes with Jay Dash. I'm going to quickly introduce Jay to you. Jay and me have been working together for almost 3 years now. He currently is the Director of Analytics at Tibersoft. It's a culture-owned company which works in food service industry of the US. He carries almost about 25 years of experience in this area, and that's what we'll be talking to Jay about today. Hi Jay. Welcome to the first episode of Databytes. Thank you so much for giving us this time, Jay. Hope
you.
we'll make it worth for you as well.
Yes, this is the first time
So
for me
before
too.
we start, Jay, sorry, go ahead.
No, I said this is the first time for me too.
Yeah, so we'll just learn things on the way of how to podcast. So Jay, before we start, can you give us a quick walkthrough of your journey so far, how you started your career, and how did you land in data science and ended up being director at Microsoft?
So yeah, I did my engineering in computer science back in 1995. After that, I worked in few companies in India. That time it called IIS Infotech, and then I did at Gensa now called Fujitsu ICIL. And after that, I came to US and worked for a company called Transys Technologies. After that, I did some consulting engagements in many different organizations, including Verizon, Anthems Blue Cross, and Granger called AutoZone. It was a dot-com company that time, offshoot from Granger. And through Motorola, at Motorola through KPMG. And then I took a firm position at EMC. Now it's Dell EMC. Then did few more. After EMC, I was at Welch Foods. It's a juice company. They make grape juice and other things called Welch. After that, I worked at Wellington Management. It's an asset management company. And then at American Tower, they build towers. And then I've been working at Tibersoft since last almost 6 years now, 6 to 7 years.
That's a really long list, Jay.
Yeah, lot of different companies I worked at. It's good and bad at the same time. The good thing was I never really did I heard it from somewhere from someone saying that I never really did a 2-year job 10 times. So every place was different. Every place was challenging its own ways. Different business area,
Right.
different challenges, different team. So it was interesting, and overall it was very interesting. And finally, I am at a place that I think what I was looking for, I have it here.
That is awesome. So throughout the career, Jay, all the companies that I mentioned, what portion of it was in data, or was it data since the beginning itself?
So the first few were during that time, everybody mostly in working in India, you will end up working with some kind of to do work to do with Y2K, either analysis or either so that's what I did. My first this thing was around the analysis of the code and writing and how to create a document, analysis document, technical document and stuff. That's what I did. And when I joined Transys, and that is when it all became data centric. And during that time, so I've been working mostly in data since 97 onwards, when it used to be just reporting. People never call data and stuff, right? Used to be reporting. Oracle Um, Here and there, I worked in a little bit on different databases, but mostly by lucky or unlucky that I've been working with Oracle. It was not my
It's awesome.
choice, but it just happened to be that I've been in Oracle since 97, 90. No, sorry, 1999, that time. Um,
That is awesome.
and yeah. So I never, when everyone was shifting to Java and everything else, I just enjoyed working in the data and reporting, and it was really fascinating to me that um, you get into it, you understand what someone is looking for by looking at the data, and then you deliver that. It is really fascinating to me from the beginning. And you won't believe that time you work in a data. Working in Java was more like I work in Java or I work in like Power Builder. Like people, that was more lucrative and more people will look at you like with more dignity than I work in reporting. Like
Mhm,
so,
mhm.
but I enjoyed that, and on now and slowly and slowly. So I have seen that whole change of the industry from the how it used to be just reports, like printed reports,
Right.
to now that all this big data technology, AI, ML, all these things, right? I've seen the whole progress from day one to yeah.
Mhm. That's where I was gonna get next to. So you have seen data before data was a thing. It was called only reporting.
Yeah.
The big industry did not know how to leverage data. So what was it like over the, I don't know, that's almost 30 years, I guess. How was it like? How did the industry itself adapt? How did it change?
It was very interesting that how things changed over so many years now, that how it was just data. E- Even during that time, you can tell that people want the data, like information.
Mhm,
People want the information. It was important to them. From a from a business perspective, you can tell that it is important. I mean, I have some experience in like EC and stuff that I was given like what it was like 2003, 2004. You I was given special power as a report developer that you go get this thing done. If anybody on your way, let me know.
mhm,
This I he is the he, I think he's leading the company right now. He's the CEO of the company. I used to work with him at that point of time, and he was a DBA during that time. And
mhm.
a clear instruction from me that if anybody creates an hustle, you let us know. And so I think it was the IT, what do you call, the technology people themselves where had created that persona of that. Oh yeah, you know what I mean. You work in Java, then you are the greatest, right? I think it was
Right.
from a business perspective, it was always data was important.
Mhm.
It's just that the way that the technology was not up to that point that um, how soon you can get your data back.
Right.
So a lot of things were happening at the same time. For suddenly that the data was so important, and it's right there. Information is right there. That what you're looking for is so a lot of things played a role in that. But
Mhm.
I would say that if I look back, that how important they knew that the reports that the business really didn't care that that somebody is working on a Java, and that they were at the end of the day that anything they entered into the system through transactional system, they
Mhm.
wanted some kind of analysis on top of it, and that used to be called reports.
Right.
The reports are now in a very steroid form. They're like no, like
Mhm.
graphs, this, that, tell me before, after, and all these things are there. But even during that time, it was important to them that at the end of the day, if I don't have these reports in front of me, I can't run my business. So it was
Mhm.
important, but I think from our own techie group, it was not considered as a like very fun thing to do.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And then over time, I guess when Google, Facebook, they all started utilizing data, that's when other companies started saying, you know what, we can do stuff like
Yeah,
this.
so
That's when interest.
it all started utilizing the data, and that played a role. And like I said, the technology improved slowly and slowly, like Oracle is improving, you can process more things faster. And so, the more it progressed, the business wanted more. Every time, it's even now, the business wants more. And yeah. So that, I think that, they always wanted more, and the technology was slowly and slowly catching up to that to support this side of the application, where the important, for me, it was the interesting part to work on. That was that when I worked in the Power Builder, I worked in like Oracle forms and stuff at that point. For me, during that, even when I did some Java and stuff, for me it was like, you go, you do something, and you tell the user that, yeah, this is done. You click on something, and this is going to happen, and that's it, right? There was not much innovation in that area.
Right.
But when you work with data, now the whole field is open to you, that you can do anything in that data. You can find so many information from that data. That was really interesting to me from the beginning, that, if somebody is asking you for this report, how can you do it? How many different ways you can do it? Where can you put something? Like you have to, not only technically you can do it differently, you can also business wise also, you can come up with many different ways, and that progress, you have seen that over the period of time, that what you can do with the data. That was interesting. Yeah.
So you saw it way before people actually did it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I was a visionary, but I mean, I just that I was in that area and I liked it, and now that area is pretty important. And
Right. Right. So all throughout 30 years, Jay, what one skill did you find most important? It could be technical, it could be interpersonal, but what is that one thing that somebody that wants to be in data has to be good with?
you really need to understand your audience. But in your case, your business user, whatever, right? You really need to understand them, that who he or she is, or some of them group, or whatever that is, who they are, and you build that relationship with them. No, one thing for sure is that when it comes to data, reporting, or whatever that we call these days, right? Nobody trusts from day one. You need to have that trust built up. And once that trust is there, then they open up. Nobody, at least in my this thing, many times the users will come and they will tell you that, hey, yeah, this is what I need. And you deliver that, right? I think that will always be a mediocre delivery.
Right.
But when the user comes to you and you have the discussion, right? And you come up from that discussion saying that, okay, this is what you need. The These days, a lot of people are using, but like that want and need, the difference between want and need is very important in this field. Is that you really understand your business, you really understand your user, what they're looking for, business user and the business problem. Then you deliver, or you come up with your own. You have to sometimes give what the user is asking for, knowingly that that it is not going, it is not enough.
Right.
But you also have to be a little bit always thinking 2 steps ahead of the user, by talking to them, by understanding what they're talking about. And that is, I think, the most important part is here, knowing the tools, knowing that, I think those all, either you can do it or someone else can do it for you. It doesn't matter, right? But if you want to be successful, that is more important, that the audience that you are supporting, them well, and you know the business that they are trying to solve. Everybody is trying to solve something, right?
Right.
And in this field, reporting side, you always remember one thing is that when you got the requirement, it's already 2 months late,
Yeah.
right? The business already wanted it 2 months ago. They are telling you now you are delivering it after 5 months, or 2 months, or 1 month, or 2 weeks, whatever that you are already late delivering that thing. So that is why if you always deliver what the business is looking for, you are always late, you are always mediocre. You
Right.
have to be 2 steps ahead. Mean that time you are coming up speed. Maybe you are a week late at that point of time if you deliver thing that they are not looking for. Or maybe you are ahead of
Mhm.
sometimes, right? But you always
Right.
remember that how important that is, that you always deliver more. And to
Mhm.
know that, it's going the same thing, that you understand the business. If he or she is talking to you, you are not just understanding that what the you are actually getting inside those words and sentences, and really understanding the problem, and or see some future problems and stuff, and yeah, that's how you design
Right.
the system, that's how you design the model, that's how you
Mhm.
design your next set of reports and stuff. Yeah.
Fair, fair. I think a lot of this comes from, I don't know how the market is in US, but a lot of students in India rely on these massive online courses to learn stuff. And I think there's a huge gap between what they teach and what you actually have to do, which is why, when I interview a lot of fresh people, they know the answer to straight questions. Why do I need joins? Okay, they'll tell you that. Different kinds of joins, they'll tell you that. But if I put up a scenario without mentioning joins itself, they don't know what to do. So when these people get into jobs, they'll probably start doing the same thing. They'll wait for something to be asked and they'll just go deliver it. Do you see what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yes.
And a
Yes.
lot of stuff is happening because of that. And
Yeah.
these people gradually become seniors, and that's all they do in their career.
Yes, in the field that I have been working. There are many different fields, right? But me in this area, like SQL and stuff. Nowadays, you don't find a lot of people like knowing that hardcore SQL and stuff. There
Right.
are many tools are out there now and all these things, right?
Hmm.
But having a real understanding of the how the technology works, why am I going to make a join and stuff? Not that I know. So I think that is really important. For if someone is doing for the new generation that is coming in, just technically knowing that, oh, how do I write a join? How do I write a select statement? Or
Hmm.
how do I write a left outer join, or whatever those inline views and stuff, all those things, right? That is not
Right.
important, but why you are doing that and why, when it is needed,
Absolutely.
I think that is more
Hmm.
important.
Right.
They
Right.
should What they should do is they should actually sit down, think of this thing, problem, or discuss between two people, think of a problem and see that, okay, how can we solve this,
Hmm.
right? um uh, like, join table A, join to table B is not enough. Nobody's going to
Right.
come and tell you that the join to table A to table B, right? if i
Hmm.
if i can do that, at that point probably I'll just write it down, right? I
Right.
mean, there may be some places, but most likely, if you want to be successful in this area, if you want to do well in this area, right? Then if you want to go to the next level and stuff, I think you need to know that when nobody's going to come and tell you table A and table B, but somebody is telling you that,
Right.
hey, I'm looking for a manager, having this many, how many people are working in this organization, what tables are there,
Hmm.
why people working now, does people report to manager, can manager behave, can there be a manager without a employee reporting to that?
Employees.
So
Hmm.
all those things,
Hmm.
you need to understand those things before you actually know that a table A joins table B. You're right. Yeah.
Right. Right. So sometimes when I take classes, Jen, if there's fresh people and I haven't introduced SQL to them yet, I encourage thinking in SQL. Like if somebody asks me what is the most important skill to be in data, I would say you should be able to think SQL, not just write code or anything. Skill is, I mean, that sort of skill is not relevant. Even probably I cannot write complex queries without referring to internet. I just understand how things work, and I can look for how to do a partition in RP. I'll go get the query. But I think what I feel is, so far that I've seen, is if you're able to think in SQL, you probably can go work on any data tool out there. Because
Exactly.
you need to have that map. Yeah.
For me, I think same thing you say, like two things. You should somebody again. I'm old school, right? So I will tell from that
Mhm.
my experience. So
Right. Mhm.
two tools, sorry, two things: knowing C and knowing
Mhm.
SQL. If you
Right.
really understand these two things, I think all these other things are out there.
Right.
Probably, will you'll feel like playing with some toy after that.
Right. Right.
Writing a proper SQL, not, yeah. It's really important. Um,
Yeah.
and I believe that's, like you said, yeah, I believe that's very, very important to know how to write a proper SQL and get the data out. You can write in many different ways, but how to do the right.
Mhm. Right. I don't think this is old school. I think it's still relevant. Programming in C and SQL, I don't think they'll ever outdate. They are the
Yeah,
core
like I
things.
said, there are many these things comes, but I really think that if you have those two, that will really give you a strong foundation to learn new
Absolutely.
tools, or new technologies, or new programming tools
Right.
and all these things. Yeah.
Okay, Jay. Next, I wanted to ask you. So, throughout the 30 years, has there been one project or one initiative that you had done, and that remarkably stands out for whatever reason? Maybe because of the technical challenge, maybe because of the business impact you made by finishing that project. Is there anything that comes to mind?
So you have worked with me about 3 years, so you have seen probably some of this, how I do.
Right.
And there are yes, there are some challenges. Every company that I worked, like that's why I said I never really did a 2 year job 10 times. Right, but
Mhm.
let's say 20 years I worked, I never really just repeating. So everywhere it was a new challenge.
Mhm.
The challenges are very different. Some technical, some this. Um, each company that I worked at had very different. Like when I worked, when I went there, when I went there at that time, we started a new initiative when somebody else was working on it. Then I joined the group. They had left from, then I joined the group. By that time, there were 50 reports were there. The 50 reports were running for multiple countries. That's called bursting. So you write a report, it will burst out for many different countries and stuff. There's a feature called bursting. So that 50
Okay.
reports will probably, and every night will run, some night, mostly nightly, some weekend, and then eventually will produce like 700 reports, right? And they
Mhm.
will be sent out to different users. And during that time, I'm talking of 2002, 2003.
Oh,
So at that time, the data mart, data warehouse was coming new,
right.
right? All these things were, at that time there was a tool called Brio. Brio, Oracle bought it, and then all this, you know, at that time the tool was called Brio. So you write it, you see that okay, 50 reports are there. Most of them going to the same tables, like similar, like say, some going to this five, other going to this. It's a common, a lot of common tables and stuff. Eventually there's not much
Mhm.
of what do you call, different data is out there, right? Because for one specific
Mhm.
business area, professional services.
Right.
So the first thing we asked ourselves is it why am I running the same report over and over and over again? Why can't it be if you run a report and somehow you so consolidating, right?
Mhm.
So instead of running 20 50 20 different report with a little bit of difference here and there, why can't I make them a single report and take the columns that I need from those and eventually show it to them? So where here I'm going with is that from 50 report it became 5 reports delivering the similar content. That means those less
Mhm.
number of time it's running, those number this thing. From 5 reports, it went to a data mart. That why am I running these 5 reports? Why can't I just run it once for the whole worldwide and run it for
Right.
different countries? From that data that I'm going to produce. So
Mhm.
50 reports to 5 reports to a data mart. I think that was a very interesting journey. No, and most of the times I work in many different things that if you wait for a project, another thing I keep telling people is that if you wait for a project that somebody, the manager is going to come and assign me hours to work on this thing, I think
Mhm.
that even when I'm manager, I tell the same thing that as a manager you have different challenges. As a
Right.
technical enthusiast, you should be you should see yourself in a two, one, that I'm delivering what my manager looking for, and on top of it, what can I do, right? And what can I do? Nobody's going to come and tell you that. You need to figure it out yourself. That, okay, you know what? This is the area that I can improve, and I don't need to. You have the database. You know how to write SQL. Nobody's going to stop. This is the best part about data and working with the data and stuff, right? You have the SQL. You know SQL. You have the database. You have the data. And what is stopping you from build? So nobody stopped me from building this data marts and stuff, and I built it myself. I showed it my business, and see, this is the advantage we can get. Yes, after that, it took a lot of my time, own time and stuff, but it gave me satisfaction and stuff. And this kind of thing always have happened to me. And I keep telling you guys, when initiative should be coming. If you want to do well, if you want to do better, initiative has to come from you as a developer. That what else can I do? It's very, as a manager, even now, I as a manager, I never have a project that I can, because I need to get approval from, it's all done to money, this, that, and business doesn't hand out money out, right? So as a manager, I was never able to give in somebody a project that is interesting. But as a developer, I always did that extra that nobody stopped me from doing it. And you show it to them, people appreciate it. And then people see you, not only you are gaining from your perspective, your technical perspective, but you also, you are gaining the confidence from the business. Business love talking to you and love telling you, and if you miss, they miss you when you leave the company. Then, this guy, the code that I had written, 2002, 2003. In 2019, I heard that code were still run. Wow. Those data mart that I had built, I had heard that they were still running there that time. Hardly any code changes were done.
That's a flex.
And so, this gives you satisfaction and stuff, right? I mean, some people don't care, but if you, so I think that is very
that's
important.
definitely an achievement.
Yeah. That is very important. As you think ahead, another thing with the data, working with the data and reporting, is that you always think 5 years, 10 years ahead when you're writing something. Is my code is going to support when there is data, when the data is not 100 rows, but 1,000,000 rows. Currently, I have 100 rows. Don't think of 500 rows, because 500 to 500 will happen so fast that you won't understand. You won't believe. So you always don't. If you have 100, you're working the 100 rows right now. You think of 1,000,000 rows. That how can my code or this model that I'm building is going to, so, and another thing is that as a developer, right? As a developer, there is no such thing as, you become an architect. Right? There is a training that I'll go to and I'll become an architect. Right? It's an internal skill you have, and you have to develop it. If you know that, if you have it, you have to feed itself. You need to feed it, right? And nobody's going to come and feed you that, you become an architect, right? And there are some people, maybe we'll go to another question a little bit, but I have seen in my career that there are different types of architect you will find in this area. Some people came from DBA side. Just because I have 15 years of experience now, I will call myself architect. I'll go jump my job as an architect. Somehow I'll struggle. But you will see these differences between those architects, that what kind of architects are there in the industry when they're working with the data. Do they really understand the model? Do they understand the data? Or are they just call themselves architect just because they have 7 years of experience, 10 years, 15 years of experience under the belt? So these are the couple of things you will see that, what kind of output, what kind of model they produce, and how that model is working after X number of years. That also is another thing. The work in the data side is that most likely your work will never be. You cannot really judge a work in couple of weeks or months in this area. You cannot really judge that is whether the work is good or bad in couple of months or couple of weeks or months.
Right.
In the other side, which on the front end side or in the transaction side, I mean, somebody created at that point of time, somebody created a nice this, that, colorful, button here and there and working, taking data from A to putting it in B. Yes, you can say that, yeah, great, you did a great job, and you can really, but in the working in the data, your work is, somebody can tell you whether you or you yourself can tell whether I did a good job or bad job only after maybe year, 2 years after you did that job.
Right.
Because at that point of time, whether your code is still running, your code needed change, your code couldn't handle this other scenarios that you didn't think of this thing. That is the difference between working in the data side and you really think forward. You really, and that will make the differentiation between a good developer in the data side and a bad developer in the data side. And not in the first day or not in the first week or 2 weeks. You can't really tell that I did a great job.
Right.
Yeah.
It has to be the worst case when we able to judge it.
Exactly. And that only comes after so many, was my code able to handle it? And you will probably not hear, I will tell you, so this has happened over and over and over, many times. It will happen to many people too. What happens is, in the data side, you did a great job. People will probably not appreciate you. They think that it was granted, it was given. Oh, you did it. But somebody did a bad job. After 3 months, another change. After 3 months, another change. They will probably get more appreciation. Then you did a good job that you didn't need to make any change for next 1 year. But
That
and the
means
other person also knows that who is better. Probably the management and probably will not understand, but you will have when you look at the mirror, you will be happy that I am doing a job that is great.
Right.
That is one other thing that you will, working in the data side, you really need to understand these things, that this is how it's going to work in all over the places. Because no manager will come and look at the code. Oh my God, they will say that, oh yeah, you did a job. Oh, you didn't fail. Oh, you're not supposed to fail.
Right.
Oh, it's failed. Oh yeah, I know somebody else wrote a job. It failed. Oh yeah, you know what? This data condition was never there. Oh, okay, fix it. Oh, wow, these guys are working so hard. They're fixing all the bugs. They are doing improvements.
So you make a change, nobody stops.
Exactly. The things that we did right? The team that I was working with, they did the work. The other teams, they came, they learned what we did, and they implemented on their side and got awards. We never got an award. Right? Because they created a team. And they like, oh yeah, you know what? Learn from this and apply it in our this thing. They applied and then they got awards and stuff. And you will see those things, but will that demotivate you or will that motivate you more? So you have to, you have to, think for yourself, and you need to be happy with what you are getting out of it, right? Not everything is about money, not everything is about recognition and stuff, right? So somebody else is recognizing me, somebody else is giving me money for the work that I did. And we all look working for money, but that extra thing that you are doing, if you are going to be happy with that work, then you will probably do well in this area. Yeah,
that's awesome. And about that architect thing, I remember when I was an intern at this tiny company in Bhubaneswar. That was before I even graduated, and we had an amazing CTO, and he once told me that if you go to a bookstore and you find a book that promises to teach you architecture, don't buy it.
Yeah,
aligns with what you said. Nobody's teaching you. It's not a skill. It's not a qualification. It's more of a skill set.
Exactly. It is not a qualification. It's and it's a skill set. And not everybody can be an architect, and that's fine. Not everybody has to be an architect. You can't have multiple architects working in the same company. They will think differently. So he's right. You don't buy that. If you see that whether you have it inside you and you flourish if you have it. You work on it.
Right. Absolutely. So Jay, over the time, how have you been able to keep in pace with the innovation side of things? Everything's changing. Some new tool is coming in. There's always improvement. There's always new products, new tools. How do you keep up with that pace? Up to date with the rest of the industry or academia?
You so working with data, I thought that if I stay in data, not only I liked it. uh,
Mhm.
in college there was a subject, when I was in engineering, there was a subject called DBMS, database
Right.
management system.
Still
My
relevant.
whole 4 year degree, that was the
Mhm.
one subject I actually had bought a book. I didn't buy any
Mhm.
of the other book. I think that was a two. There's an automata theory. Was that the one book that I had bought? That 2 or 3 books I
Right.
had bought. Everything else, you
Mhm.
go to the college library and you get it, right.
Right.
So
Right.
that was the only one book that I had bought. And not out of the 3 or 4 books, there was one book that I had bought, and I really loved that subject. DBMS. I got the best mark out on one of the top marks of all my subjects. That was DBMS.
Mhm.
Uh, the teacher that taught us DBMS is now the principal of the college that I was at.
Wow.
Sorry, what was the question where I was going? So,
So we were discussing about how you keep up with
oh yeah. So,
market innovation.
so working with the data, one thing that really I thought that the other side was changing too much. Today you have C,
Mhm.
C++, Java, .NET. Like you really have to change a lot. I thought
Mhm.
that I liked it, this area, but on top of it, that I don't need to change a lot. If I understand my data, then yeah, like I said, SQL, right? SQL,
Mhm.
I knew it. I practiced over it, and I got better at it and stuff. And there are so many things to do in SQL, and you can only do so much in every company, because depending on
Right.
what kind of analysis is happening in that company, you can only write those many kind of SQLs in that company, those many types of commands and stuff that you can write in the SQL, right? Every
Mhm.
company that I worked with focused in one area of the SQL. Um, uh, so I thought that that I don't need to change a lot if I work in the data side. I need to understand my business. I need to understand my data. It takes a little time to understand the data, but I need to understand my, this thing. Um, what changes have really happened? Big data over the, until that point, right? You, like I said, you had reports that you launch some kind of tool, and somehow, and you next thing was like data mart, data warehouse and stuff. Start building it,
Right.
and so that was another change that happened. And next thing was the big data, all
Mhm.
these things, big data, and now AI,
Right.
ML, right, machine learning and stuff. If you really look at over 20, 30 years of period, there is not really much change if you compare to, on the other side, front end side, they went through crazy, like C++,
Right.
Java, .NET, the,
Mhm.
like after that, I lost track of there, right? So
Yeah.
Angular, this, that, you really need to know, and in a completely, what do you call, rewrite yourself or rewire yourself, right? I
Right.
don't know how much similarity is there between Angular and C++. I really don't know, but
Mhm.
I believe it's a lot, right? It's not
Sure.
same,
Yeah.
probably, right? But on
Yeah.
the
No.
data side, if you see, if I understand my company data, right? If I
Mhm.
understand how my company, what is my business, this thing, that is not going to change. So this side is really, there is not a lot of a change. Yes, of course, you need to make sure that you know ML, right? And you
Right.
go, after some time, you go to a point that you don't need to know every single change that's going to happen in the industry, right? I mean,
Right.
you have to, like now I'm at the position that I really don't need to know exactly inside and outside of ML,
Right.
right? I need to know that where can I use it, where can it be used, and do I have the right
Mhm.
people to use it? So you go to,
Right.
you progress yourself to that point that you stay technical, but at the same time you develop other skills and stuff. So that's more important. But if somebody wants to stay technical and stuff, I think this is one
Mhm.
area that you really don't need to refresh your technical skills every year, every 2 years or so. You really don't need to do that. One thing you need to be really good at is that you really understand your data. If there is a
Right.
5.5, how did that 5.5 happen? Did
Mhm.
2 plus 3 plus 5, how did it become 5.5? Was it 2 multiplied by 3 divided by this, become 5.5? if you know that, so
Mhm.
that is what one thing you will see in the data side is that there will be many times the business will come to you and ask you that, hey, can you please tell me how did this happen?
Right.
No, that they will never go to a front end guy and ask that, hey, that. So again, I'm not putting down any front end guys here,
Yeah.
but I'm
Mhm.
just saying that the data side has a lot of advantages from the business perspective that you will see. Um, that, and you really don't need to change a lot. But
Right.
these are the changes that I've seen over my this thing that again, big data. When big data came, right? If you understand the industry, that time me,
Mhm.
my friends, whoever are in this industry or worked with me, in the same company, we had a lot of discussions and oh my god, big data. Now let's start. Of course, I took a course in big data, right? But
Mhm.
you start taking the course, you start thinking about it, analyzing it and stuff. You said big data needed everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So there are many. Not everybody is Google, not everybody is Microsoft or
True.
Amazon. Not
True.
so there are only you take the percentage out. There is always a small company. There's always a big company. There's always a big company, right?
Yeah.
Out of these companies, where do you put yourself in? Right, out of these
Mhm.
industries, where do you put yourself in? There will always be a small company that is looking for a spreadsheet data. There will always be a mid company that is going to be using some kind of Oracle or SQL or MySQL or something, right? There will always be
Right.
another company, big company, which be not everything, but there will be big data and stuff because that is what is needed at that point. Is
Right.
everything in Amazon and Google, every single one is big data? Probably. I don't work there. Probably not.
Mhm.
Right? There may be
Yeah.
some finance system running there, running some Oracle stuff.
Right.
Right? I'm just guessing here. I really don't know how they work and stuff. I know friends
Yeah.
working there, but I'm just saying, right? So you know, just because there is a tool is there, you just don't need to leave everything here and jump to the other side and see, and like that is probably for the people who are in consulting business, right? Because
Mhm.
if I'm in consulting business and I don't talk right now, if I don't say AI or AI, if I don't say ML, then probably people will think that I'm outdated,
Yeah.
right? But if you work in a particular industry and stuff, then you probably don't need to know. You need to know. Do I need to know ML? Yes, right. But do I need to leave everything else that I know? No, right? And that is there will always be a market for that. Again, I go back to the same thing. Doesn't matter AI, doesn't matter ML and stuff. At the end of the day, you need to know that what does that ABC means or what does that 5.5 means, and how
Right.
did that become 5.5, and how does that ABC and 5.5 work together. You need to know
Mhm.
that, right?
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I think the core reason being that data is actually the value. Anything else around it is just either interfacing it or just making it easier.
They're
Which is
making
why
it easier,
it's
exactly.
yeah. Which is why
Exactly.
there's barely any chance that data actually change at a vast level that you will become outdated. That's not happening
Exactly.
because data is always numbers, like you said. Yeah.
Exactly. They are always alphabets and numbers, right? They are not going to change. That's what
Right.
business is. And nobody is paying you
Right.
money. Google or my company or some finance company, nobody is paying money that go and do big data for me, right? They have
Right.
like, I have these numbers, 5.5, 6.7. Give me some value out of it. And how fast
Right.
can you do? How soon can you do? And how many
Right.
different ways you can do? ML, machine learning. What is it, right? Can somebody write a program to do all those things? Yes, but how fast can it do? And another thing in this industry, we'll see. Or at least I've seen over period of over some time, like when the big data came or when ML came, right? Oh my God, somebody has to go learn how to write those things, and now all this, like different, like same thing happened with reporting too. The reporting when 20,
Mhm.
20 years ago, somebody has to write like a huge, like I have written like 20 pages
Mhm.
queries and put them into this thing to go and generate a report. And then came suddenly one day there's oh, this tool came, business object, this and that. You go build a universe, you go create a RPD, all these things came, right? All right, boom, boom, drag,
Mhm.
drop, I'm able to create a report now. So
Right.
two things are happening, right? One is that a new technology is coming, and people like us are going and learning it and using it. Do you also remember one thing, that there is another set of people that are working there to use these technologies to come up with a better, how can they make our life easier,
Right.
right? DBT and all, so there is always something else is happening. On top of it, company like Oracle, they're always catching up.
Right. Right.
First, it was like, oh, can Oracle support this huge data? Only DB2 can support it. And then, like, when like out in the beginning of our career, you ask what is the best this thing? Oh, DB2, because it can only that can handle, or COBOL, VSAM, not VSAM and stuff, right? They only that can handle the. But now that much data, can Oracle handle it? Yes. So these companies are always catching up, right? And unless you want to be at that point that you are giving you're talking about in some seminar and stuff, that I really don't believe those guys that go and talk in the seminars and stuff, and like on the first day, second day, and third day of they really don't. I 7 year 10 years ago, I went to a conference and everybody was talking about big data. Probably if you go to that guy right now, he must be talking about ML right now.
Yeah.
Knowing it theoretically and really applying it into your business are very two different things.
True.
Right? Can I apply it in my business? No. I learned in that company, that time that I was in the company, I learned big data. I couldn't apply it anywhere in my business. I couldn't. There was not. I didn't have that infrastructure. I didn't have that data to support it and stuff. So it was like I learned it and eventually I forgot it. Again, I'm not demoralizing people that don't go and learn, right? You need to, just because there is a shiny tool out there, you just don't leave everything else and go run after that. My point is that you yourself figure it out, that where you are, what you are doing, and how can you use that new tool that came in, that how it is ML is needed now, right? I mean, so things like that will come to some time in your life, that things will come that you will have to use it, and it's you see that yes, this is usable and stuff, and and so and those things you will start learning and you'll start utilizing. Yeah, that's my experience.
I think that's pretty much aligns. And I think ML is not like the next thing in data, right? ML is a whole vertical in itself.
Yeah.
People that, if you're a data scientist, that's good. ML is not necessary, like you said. It's for people that do ML.
Exactly.
You just have to be familiar with it. That's not an expert.
So even if there ML is introduced, there will always be these 10 other users, business users, that needs that common report that they are going to run their business, that day-to-day life. They cannot have it without this ML thing. Right. Without this normal, what do you call it? That summing up the reports and giving stuff, that they need it. This whole world just cannot be just in a machine and everything is machine. Yeah.
True. So that said, let's say somebody is just starting fresh, who wants to work in data, maybe maybe not, maybe just SQL, or just starting their career in that orientation. What advice would you give to them?
I think we touched in a few points here and there, that
we shot it.
But consolidating it together, like you said, you also mentioned it, that you need be strong at SQL side. Very important. It's write a good SQL. That is technical. As a technical person, we have to be good at it. Understand the data. There are many examples I'll give you. Many examples in my life, that just because you understood the data, you looked at the data, you looked at the table, rows and columns, and you went through the data and went through the data all through thing, you understood this is what is happening. That is really important. You can do things, you can create reports and create analysis and give it to your users that will be so happy with you. That is the thing. Always, it doesn't matter what we said earlier, but always be vigilant of what is, or know that what is happening in the industry, what is the trend. Right? Again, the point was that what was mentioned is that don't jump from one to other, don't leave something, and you start acquiring and see that how that can be used in your day-to-day life right now. right? If the
Right.
new technology came, new system came, how can that be used? Not everything can be used, and that's okay,
Fair.
right? Or maybe you will go to a different company, or maybe you'll go to a bigger company where the big data. Oh, I'm just giving a name, right? Big data is needed, and you start using it. So you understand your environment that you are in, who are you supporting, what are you supporting, and you try to see that all the things that all the new people that is coming in, and that's what I'll say, that know SQL, know your data, and know the business. Another big thing is that know your business and have that what do you call relationship. That relationship is very, very important with the person. When they are talking to you, they should feel, or the business user talking to you, they should feel um, confident. They should feel open. They should be what do you call how do we call that? They should feel like really there's openness in that conversation, right? So they are talking. They are
Right.
they are pouring their heart out in that case, right? That
Right.
you are
Right.
observing it, or observing and observing both, right? Observing and observing it, and
Right.
coming at this is what the person is looking for. If I can do this, then probably that will really, really help him or her out. And
Right.
that relationship is very, people don't understand that, but that's very, very important. Another thing is that now we haven't really touched. Now this is, we're talking about data and stuff all the time, but the communication skill. The communication skill is not about knowing English better, talking it. It's not about that. The communication is different. Communication is, I say something, you like, it's like, hey, hello. Somebody says hello, the other side says hello. That's a communication,
Right.
right? If somebody says that, Roger, that, the communication means somebody said something and I understood it. I replied back and they understood it. That is communication. That is very, very, very important. And, a lot of good technical people lack that area. They can build the greatest thing, but they can't really communicate. People don't. If you cannot communicate, that means the other person on the other side doesn't really trust you,
Right.
right? If something is running late, or if you don't know something, communication is the only that will help you in. Either you can do the job, even not do the job, doesn't matter. Sometimes not everybody can do it. Nobody knows that. Everybody knows that nobody can do everything. But was that communicated at the right time, at the right moment? It's very important. Everybody talks about technology and all this thing, but another big part that misses out is this part is communication. And
Absolutely.
it's not about good English. And of course, good English helps, right? But that communication, that I said something and he or she understood it, and now I'm good. Like I feel like, I have given, the ball is on the other side. Now, if I
Right.
don't
Right.
have that feeling as a business user that the ball is on the other side, or your manager, or whoever that is that you're interacting with, then the communication did not really happen, and it's not good.
Right. Right.
I mean, these are the few things as a new somebody coming into data and stuff really needs to understand that.
Perfect. Perfect. On the communication part, I have developed a trick to make sure that I have delivered what I'm thinking. And it's very easy. After you said what you said, you take a pause in yourself and you ask yourself, are you sure you explained what you are thinking? And it's very easy. I mean, it sounds very obvious as well. But when you actually do it, sometimes you're done speaking, but you feel like you have more to explain. And when you start feeling that, that's when you know that no, it's not completely given, right? So it's there's still a gap between what you're thinking and what you're speaking. So you try to do that again. And I think this exercise, if for somebody new in this area, this is going to help a lot. You just keep asking yourself, is this enough? Is this enough? And at some point you'll be like, yeah, I said everything that I had in mind. That's perfect. Like you said, not good English, but basically translating the thoughts into words. And when you're satisfied, you're good.
Yes, very true. And then another thing to add to that is, your audience, who you're talking, like who you're speaking
Right.
in front,
Right.
right?
Right.
If it is, and knowing, what does that mean? That means that if someone who's not technical, and you opened up this whole your SQL and like 20-page SQL and tried going through that, the person will lose interest. the communication right break happens right there.
Mhm.
So you really need to
Mhm.
understand who am I speaking with, or who am I trying to communicate, what level that
Mhm.
should be. Either you have to go
Mhm.
up or down in that business level. That if I said business, it doesn't matter, right? So business the
Right.
two different, right? At which wavelength that I
Mhm.
need to talk, business
Right.
or technical, and you start, you really, and sometimes writing helps, and there are many other communication, and also people can go take it,
Yeah.
this thing, that, and how do you communicate? But that is really, really important. That how do you
Mhm.
communicate, right? Good, bad doesn't matter if you communicate well, the right thing at the right time. Most of the time, nobody will come and blame you that you didn't do this or you couldn't deliver and stuff, because nobody's expecting that if I give a job to someone and that person is now going to do it. But what they are
Right.
expecting, from a manager or business perspective, is that if I give something, I'm going to get a regular update, which is communication, saying that this is where it is, or I'm stuck, or I'm not stuck, or unstuck. There is always, like, you don't think that you are holding the whole world on your this thing and going to solve the whole world yourself, right?
Right.
So yeah.
Perfect. There's one more question here that I did not actually plan on asking, but you listed so many companies, so many industries that you have worked on. Do you ever think about being an entrepreneur with the vast experience that you have gathered from different industries, with the technical expertise that you have gained over time? Do you ever think of doing something on your own in this area that has to do with data?
So so being entrepreneur is a different skill set, right? Do i do i do things other side my work? Yes. What
Okay.
makes me happy? I Any time that I get, and I live in US, right? So any time that I get into building, what do you call, my construction, right?
Mhm.
So I do here and there, so that's what I enjoy. So you really have to.
Mhm.
That's what I'm saying. This is very personal thing, right? And some people may love
Right.
to play
Right.
cricket, or some people may love to do whatever, right? Painting
Right.
or whatever that is, right? So it is up
Right.
to them.
Right.
So what I believed is that my work, I love my work, right? I love
Mhm.
all that area, right? So that is the thing that keeps me, my family feed it, all these things, right? And then any
Right.
extra time that I get, that's where I invest and stuff. So I think this is where it comes. Can if I leave my job and probably do something, I can, I can do it. Um, but I never really. I was happy. I was content with where what I was doing and where I was going with that. I never really thought of. I've done or not adventures, like other kind of consulting and stuff. My friends sometimes come and
Mhm.
ask for consultation, this, and I've done few things here and there, but never really left my job and did something over there. Probably I was
Right.
not
That's not a thing for you then.
uh, probably that was not the thing for me. Yeah, right. Yeah, probably that was
Mhm.
like I never really. Um, yeah, I never really was into something.
Right. Right. Because the thing that I originally wanted to ask you was, where do you envision these different data tools going in the future? Right, because you have seen this through, but the most likely the answer is probably the same. It will still remain the same. But I just connected both of these questions together, and I thought, if you have seen so much, and if you can actually picture a good future for this, domain that is data, would you actually want to quit and start working on a product for yourself? That's where it came from.
I, so at some point I had a consulting company.
Oh wow.
I
Okay.
was consulting. I had people working for me, and doing
Mhm.
consultation and stuff. Um, and then, um, so yeah, so I and at one point I was building a tool around OBIE area, the OAC area. And at that time it was OBIE. So looking at all the
Mhm.
metadata that it happens, and coming up with a tool that you will sit on top of the metadata that was not exposed from OBIE, and will tell
Yeah.
you all about that things. If I change, let's say, I change my all about it. So I had built a tool around that, and where I where I knew that I was not built for this thing is that I built the tool. The tool was great.
Mhm.
I never really
Mhm.
sold it. As soon as I built the tool, I was happy that great. I had this, that, I could have sold it. I could have,
Yeah.
I used PHP and I used some JavaScript and stuff at that point. At that time the PHP
Mhm.
and stuff were there. So PHP, JavaScript, and I built that tool myself. I know that some other people have done similar things and sold the companies for like at that time hundreds of thousands of dollars. Any company would have bought it and said that because things like if I go change my this with tools like OBI, that I was working with that in that area. Let's say I go and I may that you don't know how many reports are out there. I mean, there is nobody's keeping track of what reports and all. It's not as easy to figure out that who using what and all this thing. But if I go,
Right.
let's say somebody says that what, I'm going to change the data or I'm going to change this
Mhm.
column. How many reports are impacted? Nobody could tell,
Right.
right? Indirectly, directly, how many reports are impacted? And this tool will tell you that if you change this thing here, this report. If you change this is going to happen. And the
Awesome.
Oracle has recently come up with some usage and stuff. It was able to tell you, usage and all these things. How many times done.
Mhm.
It was back. It was in 2000. I was so maybe 10, 12 years ago, I think. So that is where I knew that that as soon as I built it and I was able to run it and here and there, I was great. I was happy and that's it.
Right.
I'm done. I never really
Mhm.
went and I showed it to some people at work. Oh my God, we want to buy it and stuff, and that was enough for me. And so people are different, and
Right. Right.
different things. So that's when I realized that what this is. This is not.
You're so passionate about data. It's how
Building and
you.
not about
Yeah,
marketing,
building itself.
about selling it. And so I was
Right.
passionate about building it, and then I built it. And anytime those kind of passions, I always used it at work. That work that the place
Mhm.
that I worked at, I gave them a mart. That where mart was needed. Like I gave them something. I built at Welch's. I built this whole. I'd like, oh yeah, if I do this, the company will save like millions of dollars that they don't need to go and buy some like tools. So I built that whole
Right.
data model, and so that's what kept me happy than really building. I could have just built it and sold it outside.
Right.
Then hey,
Mhm.
if you have apps, Oracle apps,
Mhm.
Oracle applications, right? Then you can use this data model that will give you all the reporting that you're looking for. But
That is awesome.
yeah. So things like that. But it's a different mindset. I'm not saying good or bad, but
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Right. That's all I had for discussion. Thank you so much again. You gave us so much
thank you
time.
so much. Yeah,
And
yeah, great.
yeah.
It was nice talking to you. It
Thanks
was
again, Jay.
great. It was hopefully, we'll
Yeah.
see what happens with this is my first time, right?
So was me.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll see how this goes.
Cool.
But thank you so much again.
Thank you.